So, Ben, I saw this interview with Vitalik and Suji Yan drop a couple days ago about why decentralized social keeps failing. And honestly, it hit different this time.
Because Twitter just banned a bunch of crypto platforms?
That's part of it, but also because we've been through this cycle so many times. Friend.tech, Lens, Farcaster, everyone gets hyped, then crickets. What's actually different now?
Well, let's start with what happened. Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it, basically nuked a bunch of platforms that were aggregating tweets and rewarding users with airdrops. Kaido was the big one. And suddenly everyone's like, see, this is why we need decentralized social.
Right, but we've had that wake up call before, multiple times. So why hasn't anyone cracked it?
Vitalik actually gets pretty blunt about this in the interview. He says most projects are starting from the wrong place. They're thinking crypto plus social equals money, when they should be thinking what actual problem in social media needs solving.
Wait, that's a huge point. You're saying the issue isn't technical?
That's both. But think about it. When Friend.tech launched, what was the pitch? Trade keys to access someone's private chat. The core mechanic was speculation, not better conversations.
Okay, but people loved it for like 3 months.
Exactly. 3 months, because they were there to make money, not because the social experience was better than Twitter. The second the token incentives dried up, everyone bounced.
So what Vitalik's saying is that if you build a social product where the main draw is financial upside, you're just building a casino with a chat feature.
Pretty much. And he contrasts this with something like Substack, which actually works. Substack solves a real problem, monetization for writers without ads or algorithmic BS. The money part serves the content, not the other way around.
But here's what I don't get. Network effects in social are brutal. I mean, everyone's already on Twitter. Why would I go post on some decentralized platform where there's like 47 users and they're all talking about gas fees?
That's the billion-dollar question, and there are basically two approaches trying to solve it. The first is protocol-level separation. So instead of building one new Twitter, you build a shared protocol where your account and posts live, and then anyone can build a client on top.
So, like, I make one post and it shows up in multiple apps?
Exactly. Farcaster and Lens both work this way. You're not starting from 0 users, you're tapping into a shared network. The second approach is aggregation. Tools like Firefly let you post to Twitter, Farcaster, and Lens all at once from one interface.
Oh, so I don't have to choose. I can just keep using Twitter and dip my toes in the decentralized stuff on the side.
Bingo. And that's actually how migration happens in practice. Suji talks about this in the interview. He watched the Chinese crypto community move from Weibo to WeChat to Telegram to Twitter over the course of years. It's never instant.
But something had to trigger each move, right? What made people switch?
Usually a combination of the platform doing something bad, banning accounts, changing rules, and the better alternative existing. But here's the key thing Suji points out. Even Twitter isn't decentralized, but features like community notes create this feeling of decentralized governance, like the community can fact-check Elon Musk's own tweets.
Which is wild when you think about it.
Right. So maybe the question isn't fully centralized versus fully decentralized, but what's the right mix? Suji's take is that you need centralized and decentralized to coexist and evolve together.
Okay, but let's talk about what actually exists right now. We mentioned Lens and Farcaster. What's the current state?
So Farcaster got early traction partly because Coinbase threw weight behind it. But that's also a problem. If people see it as just a Coinbase thing, it limits who wants to join. Lens has been around longer but had similar challenges.
And now Suji's taking over Lens?
Kind of. He frames it more as an alliance than an acquisition. And his first priority is pretty simple. Make it so you can post to Lens from any wallet. Doesn't matter what chain, doesn't matter if it's your Binance wallet or MetaMask.
That sounds basic, but it's actually smart. Remove friction.
And his second focus is way more interesting to me. He thinks prediction markets plus social is massively underrated.
Wait, like Polymarket?
Yeah, but think about it. On Polymarket, people are making bets, but the comments sections are terrible. Nobody's building actual social features around the markets. But the bets themselves create discussion, memes, arguments. That's inherently social.
Oh, so instead of just commenting on tweets, you're commenting on bets about real events.
Or making small bets directly from a social feed. Like someone posts, Trump's gonna fire Powell next week, and right there you can see a prediction market showing 8% chance, plus all the discussion. It combines skin in the game with conversation.
That's actually kind of genius because it changes the incentive structure. You're not just shouting into the void, you're putting money where your mouth is.
Exactly. And Vitalik gets into this too. He talks about how Twitter added Grok this year, and when someone posts something wild, people ask Grok to fact check it. That helps a little, but it's slow. Prediction markets could make fact checking much faster.
How?
Someone makes an extreme claim. Bitcoin's hitting 200K by March. You immediately spit up a prediction market. The market price instantly shows you what informed people actually think the odds are. It cools down irrational takes.
But doesn't that only work for falsifiable claims? Like, what about political stuff or values debates?
True, it's not a silver bullet, and Vitalik admits some prediction markets are drifting towards sports betting and gimmicks, but he thinks there's a real opportunity to design interfaces that combine AI, community notes, prediction markets, and search, all with the explicit goal of improving discussion quality.
So it's less about decentralization for its own sake and more about designing systems that push conversations toward truth.
Right, which brings us to a really interesting question someone asked in the interview about DAO governance. What if you had prediction markets built directly into governance decisions?
Like before a DAO votes on a proposal, people bet on whether it'll work?
Exactly. It's called futarchy. And right now, most DAO governance discussions happen on Twitter or Discord, which is kind of ridiculous. You're making million-dollar decisions in threads that disappear in 2 days.
Yeah, there's no purpose-built social platform for governance.
Not really, so that's a clear gap where decentralized social could add real value. If you designed it from day one to support discussion, prediction, and on-chain voting all in one place.
Okay, but I want to zoom out for a second. We keep talking about all these possibilities, but let's be honest, is any of this actually happening at scale?
Not yet, and the interview gets pretty real about why. Vitalik says most blockchain social and gaming projects fail because they start with, we're crypto, so let's add finance, instead of, what actual problem does this application actually solve?
So it's the same mistake Friend.tech made.
Yep. And he says the founders most likely to succeed are the ones who deeply understand social media but maybe don't even know that much about blockchain, because blockchain should be background infrastructure, not the main feature.
That's a big mindset shift for the crypto world.
Totally. He even says someone who understands social but not blockchain is better positioned than someone who understands blockchain but not social.
Which is kind of a burn to a lot of crypto sounders.
It's honest, though. Think about successful apps. Nobody talks about what database they use or what cloud provider. That stuff fades into the background. Blockchain should be the same.
So where does that leave us? Are we any closer to decentralized social actually working?
I think we're at an inflection point. The infrastructure is way better than 3 years ago. The UX has improved. We have real examples of things that kind of work, like Farcaster has actual users. Lens is getting new energy under Suji.
And Twitter is making more people nervous with the bans and the Elon chaos.
Right, so the conditions are better, but Suji's probably right that this is going to take years, not months. Migration happens in waves, and you need centralized and decentralized options to coexist while people slowly shift behavior.
What about something like OpenChat? That's been running on Internet Complete for a while now, right?
Yeah, OpenChat is actually a good example of what's possible when you have the infrastructure to support it. It's fully on-chain, messages, media, everything, without the gas fee problems you'd have on Ethereum.
How does that work technically? Internet Complete has this reverse gas model. Instead of users paying per message, developers pay for compute upfront. So you can build a chat app where users don't need tokens in their wallet to send messages. It just works like a normal app. So people are using it without even knowing it's blockchain?
That's the idea, and OpenChat has governance too. Token holders vote on features and moderation, so it's genuinely decentralized, not just decentralized in name.
How big is it?
Not huge compared to Twitter, but it's been running for years with real daily users, not a flash in the pan. And that matters because it proves you can build functional social products on-chain if the infrastructure supports it.
Is this where we say ICP has unique advantages because of chain key cryptography and the reverse gas model?
I mean, it's relevant here. Most chains can't support a full social app on-chain because of costs and storage. You end up with this hybrid model where some data is on-chain, but most is on centralized servers, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Right, like Lens originally stored most content on IPFS or whatever, not actually on Polygon.
Exactly. With ICP, you can store everything on-chain, including images and videos. Plus, it has native Bitcoin and Ethereum integration without bridges, so you could potentially build social features that tap into those networks directly.
But it's still way smaller in terms of users and mindshare than Ethereum-based platforms.
For sure, and that's the trade-off. Farcaster and Lens have more developer attention and bigger ecosystems, even if they're more technically limited. OpenChat has better infrastructure but less network effect.
So we're back to the network effects problem.
Always. Which is why I think the aggregation approach might actually win. Something like Firefly that lets you post to Twitter, Farcaster, Lens, and maybe OpenChat all at once. You gradually build presence across platforms without abandoning where your audience already is.
That feels realistic versus everyone suddenly deciding to leave Twitter for one new platform.
And honestly, we might not even need one platform to rule them all. Vitalik says having multiple centralized platforms is already better than one monopoly. If Binance has their social thing, Coinbase has theirs, and they can loosely interoperate, that's progress.
Although Binance Square is kind of a mess, right? Lots of pump and dump energy.
Vitalik's pretty diplomatic about it. He says he hasn't used it enough to judge, but he doesn't think companies building their own social platforms is inherently bad. Different communities need different things.
Fair, but it does feel like we're stuck in this limbo where everyone knows Twitter is problematic, several alternatives exist, but none have hit escape velocity.
I think that's right, but the pieces are coming together. Better tech, real use cases like prediction markets and governance, platforms like OpenChat proving it can work on-chain. The migration is happening, just slowly.
So what should people actually do if they care about this?
Honestly, try the tools. Use Farcaster or Lens or OpenChat for a week. See what works and what doesn't. Give feedback. The only way these platforms improve is if people who actually care about decentralization show up and help build a culture.
Not just the degens looking for the next airdrop.
Exactly. That's been the problem. Too many people showing up for tokens, not enough showing up for better conversations.
And maybe that's the real test. Can decentralized social build communities where the quality of discourse is actually higher, where it's easier to find truth and have good faith debates?
That's the vision. Combine the right incentives, prediction markets, community moderation, transparent algorithms, with infrastructure that can't be unilaterally controlled.
If they pull that off, it changes everything.
Big F, but worth watching. This feels different than 2021.
Because the motivation isn't just number go up?
Right. It's more like Twitter is actively getting worse and we need a viable alternative. That's a much stronger foundation to build on.
All right, so keep an eye on how Lens evolves under Suji, whether Farcaster can sustain momentum, and if anyone actually integrates prediction markets into social in a meaningful way.
And watch what happens with governance tools. If DAOs start using purpose-built decentralized social platforms for decision-making, that's a real signal.
Cool. I'm cautiously optimistic for the first time in a while.
Same. Let's check back in 6 months and see if any of this actually happens.
Deal.